Welcome back, everyone. We're diving into a topic many of you have asked about resources, specifically for men.
Oh, yeah.
We've got some great materials from the Men's Resource Center, including their program descriptions, some inspiring success stories, and some research they've done about the unique challenges
Yeah.
that men face.
You know what really caught my eye is how the Men's Resource Center goes beyond just handing out a list of phone numbers.
Right.
They've developed this whole approach that they call resource navigation.
Resource navigation. I like the sound of that already.
Yeah.
It sounds like they're acting as guides,
Yeah.
helping men sort of find their way through what can be a pretty overwhelming, potentially overwhelming system.
That's precisely it. They recognize that even knowing what kind of help you need can be tough.
Right.
And then actually getting that help, forget about it.
Yeah.
So they offer two main types of navigation.
Okay.
They have general referral navigation, which is for more immediate needs like, food or shelter. And then they have in-center resource navigation for more complex issues.
So general referral navigation,
Yeah.
that's like the fast track for the essentials. But what does that actually look like in practice? Are they like duplicating services that already exist, or are they connecting men to existing resources?
No, they're all about efficiency. They don't try to reinvent the wheel. Instead, they focus on connecting men with existing public assistance programs.
Gotcha.
Things like food banks, shelters, transportation assistance.
Okay, so it's about cutting through the red tape and really getting those men to those essential resources quickly.
Exactly.
Now, what about those more complex challenges? What stood out to you in the materials about the in-center resource navigation?
The sheer range of what they cover is really impressive. We're talking crisis support, physical health, financial help, legal issues.
Wow.
They even have programs for addiction recovery, trauma and emotional support, and even family and relationship support.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
It seems like they're really acknowledging that men often face these really unique challenges.
Yeah.
And they might need more than just, a generic solution.
Right.
I noticed in the materials they use the term trauma-informed quite a bit.
Oh, yeah.
Could you unpack that a little bit for our listener?
Sure. Trauma-informed basically means they understand that past experiences, especially negative ones, can have a huge impact on a man's current situation.
Right.
So instead of just treating the immediate problem, they consider those underlying causes and try to create a safe and supportive environment for healing.
So it's about recognizing that a man's struggles might be rooted in some deeper issues that need to be addressed as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, amidst all these descriptions of the programs, was there a particular story or success
Oh, yeah.
that really highlighted how this personalized approach actually plays out?
Absolutely. They shared this really powerful story about a man who was struggling with addiction and trying to re-enter society after being incarcerated. And instead of just handing him a list of phone numbers, they worked with him to create this really tailored plan that addressed his specific needs.
Okay.
He got connected with harm reduction resources, employment programs, emotional support groups, which ultimately helped him secure stable housing,
What?
find a job, and maintain his sobriety.
That's amazing. That's a great example of how that personalized approach can really lead to,
Yeah,
tangible long-term results.
absolutely.
It's not just about that quick fix, but it's about really empowering men
Right.
to take control of their lives.
Exactly. And they seem to be very intentional about making their services accessible to everyone. They emphasize being judgment-free
Yes.
and welcoming men from all walks of life.
Which is so important. I mean, removing those barriers
Yeah.
to seeking help is often the biggest hurdle.
Huge.
Did they mention anything in the materials about fees or cost of services?
Yeah, this is where it gets even better. All their services are completely free. They understand that financial hardship is often a major obstacle
Right.
for men seeking help. So they've removed that barrier entirely.
Free and accessible.
Yeah.
That really underscores their commitment to serving the community. Now, the materials also mention some research they've done about the unique resource landscape here in the Central Valley.
Yes.
What are some of the key needs that they've identified?
They've pinpointed 10 essential resources that are particularly crucial for men, especially those in underserved communities here in the Central Valley. And affordable housing tops the list, which makes sense given the housing crisis that we're all experiencing.
Absolutely. It's hard to focus on anything else
Yeah.
when you don't have a safe and stable place to live.
Exactly.
What were some of the other essential needs that they highlighted?
They also emphasize the need for employment and job training programs, especially those that offer things like trade certifications or help men re-enter the workforce after incarceration.
Gotcha.
And then, of course, mental health services are crucial. Of course.
Especially considering the stigma that men often face
Yeah.
when it comes to seeking help for emotional or mental health challenges.
Even the listener brought up a good point about this. They wanted a little more clarification about mental health services, like the
Yeah.
difference between counseling, therapy, and psychiatry, because those terms are sometimes used interchangeably.
That's a fantastic point. It's easy to get those terms confused.
Yeah.
So counseling is typically a short-term, goal-oriented process focused on specific issues.
Okay.
Therapy delves a little deeper,
Hmm.
often addresses longer-term emotional or behavioral concerns.
Right.
And psychiatry, of course, involves a medical doctor who can diagnose and treat mental health conditions, sometimes with medication, if needed.
Okay, so that's a very helpful breakdown. It's important for people to understand
absolutely.
the nuances of those services. Now, what were some of the other resource needs identified by the Men's Resource Center? Well, substance abuse and harm reduction resources are another major concern, particularly with the rise of meth and opioid addiction.
Right.
They see a huge need for things like Narcan and fentanyl test strips to literally save lives.
Yeah.
And then for men who have been incarcerated, legal aid and reentry support are absolutely essential.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Navigating legal issues, fines, and just the challenges of reintegrating into society, that can be really daunting
Yeah.
without the right support. And I imagine access to basic health care, particularly preventative care,
Absolutely.
is another significant need,
Huge.
especially in those underserved communities.
They highlight the importance of regular physical health checkups and preventative care.
Right.
And then there's the often overlooked need for fatherhood and relationship support.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Many men, particularly in low-income communities, struggle to navigate fatherhood, co-parenting, healthy relationships.
Yeah. Those are crucial aspects of a man's well-being, but that often gets overlooked.
Big time.
What else did they mention?
They also highlighted the importance of life skills and digital literacy.
Oh, interesting.
So things like budgeting, cooking, even just using technology
Mm-hmm.
for job searches or accessing resources.
Okay.
And lastly, transportation assistance is a huge need in the Central Valley, where public transportation can be limited.
It's all connected, isn't it?
It is.
Because without that reliable transportation, it's almost impossible to get to work, medical appointments, or even access those essential resources that we've been talking about.
It's a domino effect, and the Men's Resource Center really seems to understand that complexity
Yeah.
and how one challenge can often lead to another.
So they've clearly done their homework. They've identified those key needs.
Yes.
But I'm curious about how they actually translate that knowledge into action. Because they keep mentioning this warm handoff approach. What exactly does that entail?
It's a really interesting concept. They go beyond just giving someone a phone number. They actually connect the individual directly with the person, the agency, or the program that can help, and making sure that that man feels comfortable
Right.
and confident moving forward.
So it's about building trust and really making that transition from wanting help to actually getting it
Yeah.
as smooth as possible.
I can imagine how overwhelming and even intimidating it can be to try to navigate all these resources on your own.
It is. Imagine searching for mental health services online.
Yeah.
You're bombarded with a million websites, conflicting information. It's hard to know who to trust.
Yeah, it's like trying to find a needle in a haystack, really.
That's exactly where the Men's Resource Center steps in. They simplify the whole process.
Okay, let's unpack that simplification process a bit.
Okay.
What are the steps that they take to make this navigation less daunting for men?
They start by listening,
Yeah.
which is so refreshing. Instead of just dumping information on you, they take the time to understand your specific needs.
Then they vet the resources, making sure they're trustworthy and effective.
Right.
And they walk you through the necessary steps, whether it's filling out a form or making a phone call.
Right.
But most importantly, they stick with you,
Okay.
offering ongoing support and checking in to make sure things are working out.
So they're not just like a directory of resources, but they're really like a personal guide,
Yeah.
walking alongside you every step of the way. Now, this is all incredibly impressive.
Yeah.
But how does someone actually connect with the Men's Resource Center? What are the options?
Well, they offer a few different avenues,
Okay.
and I love how they cater to different communication styles and
Right.
comfort levels.
Okay, this is where it gets really practical for our listener.
Yeah.
Let's delve into those service options in more detail.
So they have a free 30-minute resource check-in that you can do over the phone.
Okay.
They have text-based support
Hmm.
if you're looking for quick access to resources or just a little bit of encouragement.
Gotcha.
And they even have Zoom or video resource check-ins
Okay.
for that face-to-face interaction.
It's fantastic that they offer that flexibility. I mean,
Right.
not everyone feels comfortable talking on the phone or
Yeah,
meeting in person.
absolutely.
So having those various options is really a game changer.
Yeah, sure.
Now, is there anything else that they offer in terms of connecting?
Oh, they also have an in-person free resource check-in in the works,
Hmm.
but it's not available yet.
Okay.
But I imagine that will be a very popular option
Yeah.
once it's up and running.
Because sometimes that face-to-face connection can make all the difference.
For sure.
It sounds like they're constantly evolving
Yeah.
and finding new ways to reach men and really making it easier for them to access
Absolutely.
the support they need. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground in this first part.
We have.
We've gone from understanding the concept of resource navigation to exploring the essential needs that they've identified.
Right.
And the different ways that men can actually connect with the Men's Resource Center.
It really is a holistic and thoughtful approach.
It is.
What strikes me is how they're not just connecting men to resources, but they're really fostering that sense of community
Right.
and belonging.
Breaking down those walls of isolation is so crucial.
Huge.
But now I'm curious to dig a little deeper into the specific services that they offer and how those services are actually delivered. So let's shift gears and explore that aspect in part 2 of our deep dive.
You know what's really fascinating is that the Men's Resource Center seems to understand that they can't be everything to everyone.
Right, like you were saying, they're not trying to duplicate existing services.
Exactly. Their focus is on helping men navigate this maze of resources that already exists,
Right.
whether it's for housing or mental health or employment or healthcare.
So it's about making the system work for men,
Yeah,
not just giving them like a stack of pamphlets and hoping for the best.
right. Exactly. And they're very clear that it's not just about handing out brochures or phone numbers. It's about finding the right fit for each individual, ensuring that the resource truly meets their needs, and then providing that warm handoff we talked about earlier.
That warm handoff seems so crucial. It's like the difference between
Yeah.
giving someone directions and actually walking them to the door,
Yeah.
making sure they feel comfortable and confident.
I love that analogy. It
Yeah.
really captures the essence of their approach.
Because, let's be honest, seeking help can be downright intimidating,
Oh, yeah.
especially when you're already feeling vulnerable.
Absolutely. Think about it. You need help with something, maybe it's mental health support.
Right.
So you go online and you type in mental health services, and suddenly you're bombarded with a million websites.
Yeah.
Conflicting information, it's impossible to know where to even begin.
Yeah, and even if you manage to find a website that seems legitimate,
Yeah.
then there's the whole process of figuring out like what they offer, what the costs are, whether you need insurance. It's enough to make anyone give up.
Absolutely. And the Men's Resource Center really recognized that
Yeah.
and created a system that simplifies the entire process.
Okay, I'm hooked. Tell me more about how they actually simplify this potentially overwhelming experience.
They start by listening, which is so refreshing.
Okay.
Instead of just assuming they know what you need, they take the time to understand your unique situation and what you're hoping to achieve.
So it's a personalized approach from the very beginning.
Exactly. Then, based on what you've shared, they tap into their network of vetted resources. So
Okay.
you don't have to worry about ending up at some shady organization or with someone who's not qualified.
Right.
They've already done the research and the legwork to ensure that the resources they recommend are legitimate, effective, and appropriate for that individual's needs.
It's like having a personal guide in a world that can often feel like a jungle.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah.
And it doesn't stop there. They also guide you through the process of actually connecting with that resource. Whether it involves filling out an application or making a phone call or attending an orientation.
So they're not just handing you a phone number and saying, good luck. They're really walking alongside you, making sure you know what to do and where to go.
Exactly. And perhaps most importantly, they check in with you afterwards to make sure things are working out.
That ongoing support seems so crucial, especially in those early stages
Absolutely.
when you might be feeling uncertain or discouraged.
It really is. It shows that they're genuinely invested in your success and not just trying to check a box.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about this personalized approach,
Yeah.
the warm handoff.
Yeah.
But I'm curious about the specifics of how they connect with the men who need their services. What are those avenues?
They've got a few different options, and I love how they cater to different communication styles and comfort
This
levels.
is where it gets really practical for our listener.
Yeah.
Let's break down those service options.
Okay, so they have a free 30-minute resource check-in over the phone, which is a great way to get personalized support and have your questions answered by someone who really understands the challenges men face.
It seems like a pretty low barrier way to kind of test the waters and see if the men's resource center is the right fit.
Absolutely. And for those who are maybe a little hesitant to talk on the phone, they also offer text-based support.
Okay, so you can get quick access to resources or just a bit of moral support, all from the convenience of your phone.
Exactly. It's all about meeting men where they are.
And then for those who prefer that face-to-face interaction, even if it's virtual,
Yeah.
they offer resource check-ins via Zoom or video conferencing.
Right. This option provides that visual connection and allows you to see and hear the person you're talking to, which can be really helpful.
They've really thought this through and created a system that's very accessible and user-friendly.
I agree. And they even have plans to offer in-person resource check-ins at their center, though that's not yet available.
I can imagine that being a really valuable option for some men, especially those who prefer that in-person connection or who might not have access to technology.
Absolutely. It's exciting to see them constantly evolving and expanding their services to meet the needs of the community.
Now let's shift gears a little bit and delve a little deeper into these specific service options.
Okay.
What can a man expect when he reaches out for that initial phone resource check-in?
They describe it as a way to get connected and get in control, which I think is a really empowering message.
Yeah, it's definitely a more proactive and hopeful approach than simply seeking help.
Right. And they emphasize that it's not just a phone call.
Okay.
It's a 30-minute problem-solving session with a trained professional who has lived experience and is skilled in getting to the root of the issue and finding solutions that actually work.
So it's not just someone reading from a script. It's a real person who understands the challenges firsthand.
Exactly. They're trained to cut through the noise and get to what actually works, whether you need help finding housing or job leads or legal advice or mental health support or just figuring out what your next step should be.
It sounds like a very practical,
Yeah.
solution-oriented approach,
Yes.
which is exactly what you need when you're feeling overwhelmed.
They see it as a toolbox for your life, filled with housing options and employment programs and counseling services, legal aid,
Wow.
whatever you need to get back on track.
And all you have to do is pick up the phone.
It's incredible.
That's amazing.
They make it so easy to reach out, and that's a huge part of their mission.
Now, what about that text-based support? What can men expect from that service?
They call it text assistance for tough times.
Okay.
And it's designed for guys who are maybe too busy to sit on hold or wait for an appointment, but still need that support.
So it's like having help on demand right in your pocket.
Exactly. No phone calls, no waiting rooms, just text, get the help you need, and keep moving.
And they emphasize that you're still connecting with a real person, a trained professional
Yes.
who will respond to your text with tailored resources and support.
Absolutely. They understand that even a quick text exchange can make a big difference, especially when you're feeling isolated or discouraged.
So it's about providing that human connection even in the digital space.
For sure. And they're very clear about the types of support they can offer via text,
Okay.
They'll help you find housing information or job leads, mental health support, legal guidance, anything you need.
And they guarantee a response within 30 minutes,
Yes?
which is pretty impressive.
Yeah, they understand that when you're reaching out for help, you need answers quickly.
This is great. The phone check-in, the text support,
Yeah.
it's also accessible and user-friendly.
I agree. They've really thought this through.
What about the guys who prefer that visual face-to-face connection? What do they offer for them?
That's where their Zoom video resource check-in comes in.
So it's like a virtual version of that in-person support
Yeah,
that they're hoping to offer eventually.
exactly. And just like the other services, it's completely free.
Huh?
You get a 30-minute session with someone who's been there, who understands what you're going through, and is trained to deliver real solutions.
It's remarkable how they're removing as many barriers as possible,
Right.
whether it's cost or accessibility or even just discomfort with these more traditional forms of seeking help.
You're absolutely right. They are really committed to meeting men where they're at.
Now, I'm curious about that in-person free resource check-in.
Yeah.
That's still in development.
Yeah.
What have they shared about their vision for that service?
They've described it as a way to sit down with someone face to face, no screens, no distractions, just raw, real conversation.
Mm.
which I think is a powerful concept.
It's almost like you're creating a safe haven, a place where men can come and just kind of let their guard down.
Right. And they emphasize that you'll be meeting with someone who has live experience,
Mm.
who understands the challenges you're facing firsthand.
So it's not just professional expertise, but it's that empathy
Yeah,
and shared understanding that can be so powerful.
exactly. And whether you're facing eviction or you need job leads or you're wrestling with the system
Mm.
or you just don't even know where to begin, this in-person check-in is a way to get clear answers and connect with the right resources.
It sounds like a truly invaluable resource, and I'm eager to see how it unfolds once it's up and running.
Me too. It's clear they're putting a lot of thought and care into creating a welcoming and supportive environment for men.
We've covered a lot of ground today, from the initial phone check-in to tech support and even video conferencing.
We have.
And it's clear that the Men's Resource Center is really committed to offering flexible and accessible services.
Absolutely. They recognize that one size doesn't fit all and that men need different types of support,
Yeah.
depending on their circumstances and their preferences.
But now I'm wondering what happens after that initial connection. How do they measure the impact of their work? Do they just rely on anecdotal evidence, or do they have a more structured approach?
It's a great question.
Yeah.
To tracking their progress, let's explore that in the final part of our deep dive.
Okay, so we've spent a lot of time unpacking HW Week, the Men's Resource Center, connects men with the right resources.
Yeah.
But I'm curious about the bigger picture.
Okay.
How are they actually measuring the impact of their work?
It's a great question. And from the materials you've provided, it seems like they're not just relying on, feel-good stories or anecdotal evidence. They're really serious about tracking their progress and using data to measure their impact.
So they're combining that human touch with a more data-driven approach,
Yeah,
which seems like a really smart strategy.
absolutely. They've set these specific measurable goals.
Okay.
But they also recognize that success isn't just about numbers.
Right.
It's about real-life transformations.
Okay, so what would they consider a real-life transformation? What are they looking for beyond just the statistics?
It's about those tangible changes that make a lasting difference in a man's life. Finding stable housing, securing employment, reconnecting with family, overcoming addiction.
Right.
These are the victories that they celebrate.
Those are the stories that really resonate, the ones that demonstrate how these services can truly empower men to rebuild their lives.
Absolutely. And they're not shy about sharing those stories.
Yeah.
Their materials are full of examples of men who came in at their lowest point,
Hmm.
and with the help of the Men's Resource Center, found a renewed sense of purpose and direction.
Those stories are so inspiring, but they also raise an important question.
Okay.
How do they ensure that these successes aren't just isolated incidents? How do they know that they're making a broader impact
Right.
on the community?
Well, they talk about the ripple effect.
Okay.
They believe that when a man's life is transformed, it positively impacts his family, his friends, his workplace, and the entire community.
It's a powerful idea that these individual transformations can actually contribute to a more just and equitable society as a whole.
Absolutely. And what struck me as particularly insightful is their recognition that they can't address these complex issues in isolation.
Right.
They really emphasize the importance of collaboration and partnership.
So they're not trying to be a one-stop shop, but rather like a key player in this larger network of support.
That's exactly it. They're actively working with other organizations and community leaders to create a more comprehensive and effective system for men.
That makes sense. These challenges are so multifaceted and interconnected.
Yeah.
So a collaborative approach is really essential.
And they're not just focused on treating the symptoms.
Right.
They're really trying to address those underlying systemic issues that contribute to these problems in the first place.
Things like poverty, lack of access to education and healthcare,
Yeah,
and the stigma surrounding men's mental health.
exactly. They understand that real lasting change requires tackling those root causes.
You've painted a really compelling picture of an organization that's not just providing services, but really working to create a more just and equitable society for men.
Yeah, they're really making a difference.
But amidst all this talk about impact and systemic change, I want to circle back to the individual.
Okay.
What's the most important takeaway you want to leave our listener with today?
If you're a man who's struggling, or if you know someone who is,
Yeah.
don't hesitate to reach out to the Men's Resource Center. They're there to listen, support, guide, and help you access the resources you need to build a better life. Don't suffer in silence.
That's a powerful message. Reaching out for help is a sign of strength,
Yeah,
not weakness.
absolutely.
It's a sign that you're ready to take control of your life and create a future that's filled with hope and possibility.
And remember, the Men's Resource Center is a judgment-free zone.
Yeah.
No matter what you're going through, you'll be welcomed with open arms and a genuine desire to help.
So to our listener, take that first step. Reach out. You don't have to go through this alone.
Yeah,
There's a whole community of support waiting for you.
absolutely.
We've covered a lot of ground today exploring this unique approach of the Men's Resource Center,
We have.
their commitment to personalized support, and the tangible impact they're making in the lives of men and the community as a whole.
It's been an inspiring deep dive.
It really has. I'm so glad we had the opportunity to share this information, and hopefully this conversation will spark more awareness and encourage more men to seek the support they deserve. Remember, there is help available, and the Men's Resource Center is making it easier than ever to access it. Thanks for joining us.